Hi, everybody. My name is Buddy Gott. Welcome to Buddy's Writing Show. Tonight is episode 46, and I'm very happy to have with me author Brendan Mackey. Welcome to the show, Brendan.
Thanks, buddy. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. My pleasure. Brendan has a series out. He's got a series of short stories and a novel featuring a interesting character named Calvin Recker.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yes, that's it.
Okay, great. And I was telling Brendan I'm reading Monitor right now, which was that the first release?
It was the first one. Yeah, it's the first short story. So you got three short stories leading up to the novel. So they're prequels, I guess. I don't know.
They are
We're just working your way up to the novel. So
Yeah,
So
yeah. So you want to tell the viewers a little bit about our friend Calvin?
oh, sure. Well, Calvin is a stay-at-home dad, a private detective. So he's also unlicensed. So he's unofficial, unlicensed, and pretty untrained. Basically, he's got two small kids that he's a stay-at-home dad, and then he kind of gets involved in cases that only a stay-at-home dad really, or someone who's just hanging out all day at home with the kids can get involved in. Cheating wives, goes to daycares, stolen lawnmowers, that sort of thing. And a lot of problems come up when you're a detective who's got to take care of kids all day because you can't go on surveillances. You can't. There's no murders. You can't. You can't. There's no shootouts.
Right, right.
It's not a John Woo movie. So so you can't do that. He's got a sidekick, his college roommate sidekick, who's really into the idea of being a private detective sidekick. So he
Cool.
helps out with all the things that a detective should be doing, like following clues.
Now,
So yeah,
before he was a stay-at-home dad, though, I mean, he wasn't in law enforcement, right? Wasn't he like in a call
no,
center or something
yeah, he
like
just
that?
worked at a call center.
Just some guy, just some regular
He's
guy.
just a guy, and just a guy, and in the first story, he's just a guy, and his neighbor across the street notices that he's home all day and says, "Keep tabs on my wife. I think she's cheating on me," which is basically every mystery story that's been ever written. So he goes, well, besides watching Netflix all day and watching the kids and cleaning up, and maybe it would be fun to spice things up and just follow this case, follow this woman around. And so he drives around, follows her around, and one thing leads to another, and then he gets one case and a second case, and word gets around the neighborhood that if you want a guy that could find clues or find out what's going on in the neighborhood without going to cops, then Calvin's your guy. So,
It's fun stuff. I'm really enjoying the first story a
nice.
lot. I mean, you've got a good sense of humor, and it really. I mean, I'll tell you, humor's not easy in books. I'm sure you found that
No,
too. I mean,
yeah,
I seek out books that are hopefully funny, but still a good story, and often you get something where, boy, it's not that combination. You get something
mhm.
that's a decent story, but just like lame fart jokes and stuff
Right,
like
yeah,
that,
exactly.
and or just
Things you think should be funny. Yeah,
right, right,
yeah.
exactly. So it's hard finding that mix, and from what I've seen in that, and I sampled through your novel some too. You've got a nice mix of stuff in there. Very
No,
well written,
thanks.
very funny.
Well, thank you. Well, I think I started writing these stories. I was actually working on a completely other novel, different novel that as everyone who gets involved in the novel gets bogged down for a period of time, and then all of a sudden this, Kindle came out. I'm like, it'll be fun just to see what happens if you just wrote something short and just put it out there. And then I could play around marketing and covers because it's fun to have a cover, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
it's fun to have a bright shiny cover. So I thought when you're
Great
looking.
shiny covers are great.
Yeah, I know. When you've got a manuscript that you're on page 250 of, and you realize you got 200 more pages to clear this thing up, and you're looking at your bookstore, and you're like, it'd be nice to just put a bright shiny cover on something. It doesn't matter what it is. So I wrote. So at the time, I think my second child wasn't born yet, and I was thinking, I'm making kid jokes all day long, about or complaining or making those sort of dad jokes all day long anyway, and so I kind of just combined them and wrote something short and put it out there, and then got such a great response that I kind of wrote a couple more, and then that led to the novel because you kind of need a novel. So
Yeah, yeah. Now, are
and
you?
I wanted to get more shiny covers. So
Well, yeah, yeah. You can't have enough shiny covers, so
no.
keep putting those out. So, are you working on a second novel right now in the series?
Yeah, well, the first book was called The Cool Dad,
Uh,
and so now I'm working on the second book. It's called Dad Fellas.
oh, okay.
Calvin starts investigating a guy who's in witness protection in the neighborhood. So
Oh, okay.
the idea is that I live kind of outside Chicago, and in Chicago, everyone really feels like they know someone who's in the mob, even though they've like there's some distant relation to Capone, even though
Right.
you have no relation at all. So people get really excited when they hear the idea that like your garbage, the waste management guy might be connected to the connected to the connected. So
So if someone looks really Italian, they might be like,
yeah, it's
unjustly
like
accused of being.
the most the broadest stereotypes. So I thought the idea you see a lot of those witness protection program things, and I thought it'd be funny if if word got out in the neighborhood that like wink wink nudge nudge that guy was connected way out east or something, and then so it goes on from there. So I'm kind of working
Oh,
on that one right now.
oh,
So.
that sounds like fun. And
And you want to make Goodfellas and Godfather jokes. So
well,
then
yeah, yeah. I mean,
you have to.
those are great things to always reference.
Exactly.
I love the Godfather movies.
Yeah.
Even the third one, which a lot of people hate, I still like the third one.
So Sophia Coppola thanks you for that.
Yeah. Always forgiven, Sophia.
Exactly.
You weren't that bad, as everyone said.
No,
Although I didn't mind what happened to you at the end of the movie.
it's true. It's true.
Okay, no more spoilers on that one for anyone who hasn't seen it.
25 years later, right?
Yeah, yeah. If you haven't seen it by now,
Exactly.
what can I say? Now, we were talking before the show, and your books have the humor in them, and you've had some humor in your background. You were actually part of a sketch comedy group. You were telling me.
Yeah, well, I think it's a law that in Chicago, if you're involved in entertainment at all or writing, then you kind of get involved in sketch comedy or improv. And so me and a couple of friends, we started a group, kind of like a garage band. Our idea was we're going to be outside of Improv Olympic. It's Second City. Everyone knows about Second City.
Oh yeah.
And we're like, no, those corporate entities. We're going to be no. We're too punk rock improv for that. And, well, so we had some shows and some open mics, and it kind of failed. It failed miserably, but it was a lot of fun. And
did you have a name for your group?
yeah, we were called the Dirty Immigrants, and we thought it was a really great name. We thought it was really clever.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, I thought it was clever, but I don't know. We originally our name was High Life because we had Miller High Life cans in our hand, and so we go for our first show, and it's like an open mic sort of improv night, and the guy's like, and up next is these guys called, and we're like, we look at our can of beer, and we're like, High Life. And we're like High Life, and then we're like,
well there's improv right there.
Yeah, I know. Like, we'll change it later. We said to ourselves, and we changed it. And anyway, so we still talk. Me and our friends who are in the group, we still talk about how there's some really great sketches that someone in Hollywood is stealing right now, and we're going to turn that into a big budget movie. And
and what was it? The Dirty Immigrants?
Yeah, Dirty Immigrants. So
I want to form a Delaware branch. Can I form a Delaware branch?
Delaware branch of
Dirty Immigrants? Of the Dirty Immigrants?
Exactly. It's like asterisk.
We'll fly you in as one of the originals, and we'll do
one of the originals, and we talk about that. Yeah, that's a good idea. We should just franchise instead
of franchises.
Instead of being successful on our own, we'll just franchise it out, and then we'll rake it in that way.
I actually took classes. I guess it was back in the early '90s. It was when that Whose Line Is It Anyway show was really at its peak on ABC, and local community college. They had a couple of local comedians who put on an improv class, and it was fun. I enjoyed it a little bit, but that's not as easy as people would think. It's certainly not like the TV show. And I don't know how great these guys were as teachers. I mean, you might find this shocking, but Delaware is not like the hotbed of comedy, for the East Coast.
Yeah, well, we tried. Also, I think we came from the position that like it looks like improv, but a lot of it's staged anyway because you come up with the ideas, you're weaving them in. So we just couldn't get over the idea, and so we were like, we put on like sketches where you always take the suggestions from the audience, and they'd say, we'd always end every show with say three things. We say, we go to the audience. What's a color, a fruit, and a sport? And someone would be like basketball, purple, and orange. And we'd be like, and then we just do a basketball, and then we just do a baseball sketch because that's what we had pre-prepared, and we'd somehow like working in the very end the color orange. And so it's just It's like it was a very meta, and it didn't work. Yeah, I think our biggest failure was we were really excited about a sketch called uh, Battleship Potemkin, and it was I don't know if you're familiar with Russian films, which we were kind of film school snobs, and so we took
Okay.
Battleship Potemkin is one of the great early 1920s Russian masterpieces, the Odessa Steppes,
Okay.
by Sergei Eisenstein. So we took Battleship Potemkin with Mandy Patinkin singing a musical, and
I
so
love this. I love it.
yeah, and so yeah, exactly. So you should have been the audience. We would have killed. And so we did a big like production musical number of Battleship Potemkin, like save the Tsar, and who killed the Tsar? Mandy. You know. So we were really proud of that one, and that just died. So we, four guys just doing a big show tune. None of us can really sing. We had one talented guy who could sing a little bit, but he really couldn't sing. Like I can't sing, and we're just doing this like Mandy Patinkin thing, which is I know he's on Homeland now, and he's on
Right. Everybody knows him from
Princess
Princess
Bride.
Bride.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's kind of the mid Patinkin. This is like 90. This is like 2000.
Oh,
99. This
okay.
is kind of like Chicago Hope. Was it Chicago Hope then, or something?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
This is
That's
kind of
right. I
like
forgot about that.
mid-period Potemkin buzz. We didn't have the hot. We needed like hot Potemkin buzz for this thing to work, and so we do a big number, a big production number. We got music going, where we got friends, family, big crowd, and we're doing a big production, singing and dancing, and then we end, and it's just like crickets, and just nothing. My
I
dad's
still
looking
would
at
have loved it though. I
yeah,
know. I
my
would love
people
that.
are looking at their watches like when is this over? So it would, but still we'll be proven right. So
Well, next time Manny Patinkin has like a really big smash hit out, I think you guys need to bring it back.
bring it back, yeah, exactly. And
Strike
then
one.
maybe YouTube wasn't really around then, so yeah, maybe that's what we needed. We need to film it, and maybe it would have gone viral 20 years later.
And speaking of filming, hey, what a segue that turns out to be. Because I wanted to ask you, because you were involved with independent films, some weren't you?
Yeah, well, I was in independent film. I was kind of film school in college, and worked on some independent films uh, after college with some friends. And so we filmed a movie called The Actual Special, which I acted in, which
Oh,
you can
cool.
find. And so we went to a lot of film festivals across the country, which is kind of the best part. You kind of go to like the uh, every far-flung film festival you could think of, and any
Oh,
because
nice.
there's millions all across the
Oh,
country.
yeah,
So
they're everywhere.
yeah, and
They're
they're
everywhere.
everywhere, and they're some are really great, and some sound good, and some are. So it was like our moment where like a band, you kind of go from place to place, see how your film does.
Uh-huh.
So we did that for a while.
That's fun
And
stuff.
yeah, so and in a way, the writing now is kind of like indie film, actually,
Hmm.
because they also, after 96, 2000, you still had a lot of the hot post Pulp Fiction, Clerks, Hal Hartley, that sort of stuff, with Stillman, and so even now it's kind of like some of the self-published or indie writers are kind of like those. That's kind of like the new indie. There's like
Yeah,
indie,
that's that's
there's like
exactly right.
indie rock in the '80s or early '90s, leading into indie film, and now I think indie writing is kind of where it's really at.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I have a buddy of mine. His name's Garrett Robinson. He's been on the show before,
Mm.
and he lives out in L.A. and he's trying to get into the film business. But I know he's taken like some of his scripts and he's turned them into books, and he's
Yeah,
doing well with it. And same sort of thing. It's like this great indie
right.
movement now, and you've seen so many people have success with it, and even if they're not raking in the bucks, they're doing something they're passionate
Yeah,
about and they're having fun with, and
and books are a lot cheaper than film. Like, I can tell you
yeah,
that.
oh boy, that's for sure.
Yeah, especially back a couple of years ago when it was actually film, and so that's expensive to process. But yeah, the books there, it's really there's. I mean, of course, you could buy covers and buy your editing or all that, but I don't know. I mean, there could be costs, but you're still only limited by the imagination.
Yeah, and if someone's watching the show who is, new to, getting into writing or thinking about self-publishing, like we said, it is a cool thing where, it is like you're making you're the director, you're the producer. It's
Mhm.
everything. You
Yeah.
can do your
Yeah.
covers if you want. You can hire out for your covers, and the costs certainly vary for those sorts of things. But it's quite an exciting time if you're into writing because you
Yeah,
can
definitely.
it's on
Well, yeah, well, definitely. I mean, I know. What I did was I started with short stories because sometimes even if someone's getting new to writing, it's still intimidating to write a novel, no matter
Yeah,
what.
sure.
It doesn't matter. It's still a lot of words in your word file, no matter what you do,
Right.
and it's intimidating to do the whole thing. Sometimes you just have a great idea. A little idea like you're a dad detective. That's
Hmm.
from your life. Or you just got a great idea. You're about a ninja. I mean, or
Right.
or a dragon, or something, and you just want to experiment. That's what's great about it. You can experiment, write a 20-page story, get your cover on there, get it as good as you can, send it around, and see where it goes. And that could lead you in a whole different direction, which is what happened with me. I ended up, going this other direction with this mystery series, which I wasn't really my intention, but it
Hmm.
became really fun to write in, and even the style I was writing these books, because the style it was a little bit more distinct than some of the other stuff I was doing. It's shorter sentences,
Hmm.
kind of punchier, sort of. There's a lot of punchy like jokes and sort of short paragraphs.
Right.
Sometimes you see mystery books are like that a lot, but you see something, you see some white space on the page, and you see some short paragraphs, you see a lot of dialogue, and you kind of move along.
Right. Right.
And so
Exactly.
that was kind of what I was experimenting with these books, and so that's my suggestion for other people. Sometimes if you just want to dip your toe in, dust off a short story, just go a completely different direction, and try
Yeah.
something
You
new.
never know what might work for you.
Right. Sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes you have your opinion of yourself as a writer, of what you're going to be, or what you're going
Hmm.
to do. You think you're going to write you know, uh, a huge 500, 600-page whaling book, but someone has done that already. But
Right.
uh, maybe your whale is a space alien whale.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
it.
And you never know what's gonna like click with not only with the readers, but just with you as a writer to see like, wow,
Right.
I really enjoy doing this.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, because I know years ago, I think when I really started thinking about writing, I was really into reading Dean Koontz novels, and
Right.
I thought he was great. Read some Stephen King too. I always preferred Koontz over King. I know I'm like an
Yeah.
oddball in that way, but I'm like, I'm going to try to write stuff like that. But whenever I did that, I threw in like a lot of humor and
hmm
like too much for that genre. So
Right.
I know that that's the kind of thing that I found that I want to do for myself now. Things
Yeah.
more humorous, and I'm working on like a mystery series myself, and
hmm
like a horror series that has like a mix of comedy in there. But yeah, you just play around with it, see what clicks for you. That's
Yeah,
the thing to
well,
do.
yeah. What mystery series are interesting is that I've tried to write. I was trying to write another mystery novel before I was writing these, and I just realized maybe it's just self consciousness, but like I just don't write cops very well. I've written the same interrogation scene, and you see it on TV and you see it in books, and or Connolly does it very well, or
Right,
Ed McBain, or even you're watching The Wire too much, and you just like you feel like you know it, but then you
right.
see it and you're like, that just seems like something else. And like, what if well, how do I write a mystery series without cops?
Hmm.
Because usually you always have a cop, or at least have a squad, because things have gotten so complicated with police detection and
Yeah, that's
everything.
true.
There's so much now. It's almost too much. No matter what you do, how much research you do, you're still behind, or you're still
Right,
like
right.
you're mirroring someone else. They're like, well, what if you had? Sometimes if you just make rules for yourself, like, well, if I don't have cops, if there's no police in the neighborhood where there's these mysteries, well, what kind of mysteries could you have?
Hmm.
What kind of crimes wouldn't you have? What kind of detective would you have? And sometimes your own limitations make what's good about the series.
Right.
Uh, and sometimes it makes more sense. Like for me, if I always think about with murders, if we're talking about mysteries, with
Hmm.
murders in small towns, is how many murders can you actually have in a small town before your town has become OK Corral. Like
Right, right, exactly.
It's become Fallujah. It's like you have okay, you're living in a town, I'm in a small subdivision. It's like even if you're a town like a couple thousand people, okay, you're in Delaware, okay,
Right.
you have a murder down your street. Imagine this: you have a murder down your street. Okay, someone else is involved, not you, but you somehow get yourself
Not this
involved.
time.
Yeah, not this time. So, but someone gets arrested after a period of time. Okay, 6 months later, There's another murder? Okay, now you're 12 murders into your. Now you're 12. You're originally supposed to show you're 12 murders in. I think the FBI are going to be involved. I don't think your bookshop owner comp is bookshop owner. Detective is going to be like Jessica Fletcher. She's
I
talking
was
about
just thinking that when you were saying it. I mean, where was
yeah,
she? Like somewhere like in New England, some little town,
yeah.
but there
I
was
think
a
she was in.
murder.
I think so. There's.
22 weeks a year for like
I,
11 seasons. So
I think her murder. I think the murder rate in that town is about 85% of the population.
I think so.
I think you basically, if you lived in that town, you had about a 1 in 2 shot of getting murdered somehow. And the sweet old lady would solve it. So that's good. So at least you solved the cases. So you're
Exactly.
as long as you stay close.
Right. If Jessica Fletcher was around and you were on her good side.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But you don't want to be too close. I might just move. Might just move.
Yeah, actually, I wouldn't want to be too close to Angela Lansbury.
Exactly, with the typewriter.
She's a little frightening. We're talking about that show, but what were some of your maybe your influences? Like, what kind of books were you into? Did you like gravitate towards like some funny writers like Doug Adams or anyone like that?
I like Hitchhikers. Hitchhiker's Guide. That's a great book, of course. I don't think I've got it. I think I read the restaurant at the end of the world. That's pretty good. But,
yeah.
But yeah, Douglas Adams is really good. Funny books. Everyone kind of, as you said, there's not. There's just there's only so many. People tend to mention the same ones over and over again.
Yeah, exactly. Like Hitchhikers, I always bring that one up first because most people know that. But
Hitchhikers, Carl Hyacin is really good.
Yeah,
He's in that genre. I think he's one of the better ones. Elmer Leonard is often very funny.
A lot of mystery writers. Especially the stories that are told in the first person. You get a lot of good humor.
Yeah, and usually they're in Florida. So
right.
Is another one. What the kind of I'm a big P.G. Woodhouse guy. I
was going to ask you that. I saw that in your bio. I just picked up I actually haven't read P.G. Woodhouse yet, but I picked up a whole collection because everyone's saying you got to read it.
Yeah, I think the Jeeves book, the Bertie Wooster and Jeeves books are really that's the Code of the Woosters. Join the Morning. Those are amazing books.
Great.
I think my dad got me into them. But yeah, those are that's the prime stuff right there. Comedy writers. It's actually a great mystery series, which people haven't heard. The Fletch series is really great, actually.
Yes.
You know what? People always remember the movie, but the book series is really good, especially the first two.
Yeah.
Really good, and actually kind of an influence on my books a little bit. It's very short sentences, a lot of heavy dialogue. It's almost all dialogue, actually.
Yeah, really good.
So the Fletch books, Gregory McDonald. Yeah, that's a really good series.
I read quite a few of those, and I remember reading once that filmmaker Kevin Smith, was like very, very influenced by the writing of
I think I heard that. I think he was
Gregory McDonald.
trying to make one of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they made one good movie. I think they keep trying to remake the movie over and over again, but they haven't quite done it. But that's a really good funny series. I'm trying to think what else. David Handler's series is really good. It's the man who was F. Scott Fitzgerald. He's like a ghost. He's a ghost writer.
I'm not familiar with that.
That's a really good one. Very
cool.
There's a lot of kind of Lucky Jim, Kingsley Amis is always a classic. As is Martin Amis is usually very funny.
Mm-hmm.
I find a lot of David Foster Wallace very funny. He's one of my personal favorites. I think actually in a way, I think most books that you end up really liking are funny in some way. Like, you know what I mean? There's something about them that's funny. A lot of Philip Roth is very funny. A lot of Kurt Vonnegut is obviously very funny. Most
right.
I mean, obviously,
dark, but still very, very funny.
Yeah, Christopher Moore.
I was just going to mention. I was going to ask you about Christopher Moore. I've read most of Moore's books. I've read Lamb is fantastic. That's the first one I read, and I'm like, really? This is like all about Jesus's life from his what is it by by his best friend Biff or his childhood friend Biff?
By his best as told to his best friend Biff and
and
was he Joshua or something like that?
Yes, very funny book.
Very funny. Yeah, his books are really funny.
Oh, great. Yeah, I'm really curious to read the Fletch books again because I haven't read those.
Yeah, you kind of pick up the first one or first two, and they're really
Yeah.
you have such a strong memory of Chevy, that
Hmm.
you forget how good those books are.
Yeah,
They're
really,
also
really good.
they're really thin, slick, and that's I think
Yeah,
that's
they're
important. I think it's
quick
important.
reads.
I think that's important in a comedy read.
Yeah, very, very funny, but like really good stories too. I mean,
Right,
and
exactly.
he was a master of dialogue.
Yeah, the dialogue was amazing. It was all carried by dialogue, and plotting was great too. And Fletch is obviously great. It's a great movie too. But
Yes. Oh, the first movie was
right,
fantastic.
yeah, actually, the second one was on TV. I want to say it was yesterday. I think I was watching about 10 minutes of it. And I don't
I
know.
could never get it. I was so excited when they came out, Brendan. I
Yeah,
got to tell you, because I had seen the first one so many times. I went to the theaters opening day, and I'm like, oh man, this is like
yeah,
such a disappointment.
yeah. It
Sorry,
was like
Chevy, if you're watching,
if Chevy's
but
watching, one small tear is going down Chevy Cheeks' cheek, and he wipes it with the money. He's got a dollar bill and one. You know, so
but
poor Chev.
I'll always love the Three Amigos and so many other
Yeah,
things.
yeah, exactly. Obviously some of the classic '80s. And I think in this, but in the Cool Dog, I do make a lot of '80s comedy references.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I start the book with a 16 Candles reference, which is, some people rubbed some people the wrong way, but I don't know if they weren't familiar. But you know what, if you're not going to catch it, then so, I mean,
Oh, I'm curious to check it out just to see
yeah,
that now.
yeah,
That's a classic.
lot of 16 Candles references and yeah, the premise is that the cool dad he looks like one of the characters in 16 Candles, so that's
Oh,
kind of
okay.
the yeah.
Okay, I won't ask you which one because now I got to check it out and
Yeah,
see.
yeah, check it out.
Yeah, and I advise everyone to check out these books. Like we said, the novel is The Cool Dad,
Yeah.
and then the series. I mean, I assume that they're self-contained.
Yeah, there is self-contained. You can pick it up at any point. The Monitor is the first one. That's the origin story. But after that, you can. It's not. They're not continuous, so you can pick up at any point. So
Yeah, and the shorts, I think they're like 99 cents, aren't they? Like
yeah,
when people.
99 cents.
Yeah, oh, for the love of God, people, just go pick up Monitor.
99
Start with Monitor.
cents.
Start out
99
there.
cents.
I'll have a link down here for his page
Perfect.
on Amazon.com, so you can go right there after the show.
Click it lots of times. I don't know how many times you can buy an ebook, but I think just once. But
They can
you're
try it
good.
though. They can get sign up for different accounts, and
Exactly. We can
it'll be a
manipulate
fun
the system.
experience for them.
Yeah, I've tried. It doesn't. Yeah, you can manipulate the
Okay,
system.
all
Yes.
right. Well, still, go check out Monitor and check out the other things by my new friend Brendan Mackey. And Brendan, thanks so much for being on the show.
Well, thanks so much, buddy. This is great.
Awesome, awesome. And everyone, thank you so much for watching. Check out Brendan. Hey, Brendan, where can people find you online? I know you're on Twitter, correct?
Yeah, I'm at Brendan Mackey at Twitter and on Facebook, and I've got BrendanMackey.com, BrendanMackey dot blogspot.
Oh,
Go
okay.
check out my blog. I've
Cool.
got some writing on there and a lot of some essays on there you can check out.
Oh,
And
fantastic.
you know,
All
check out the
right, well, I'll
books
have
and
all those links down there, so everyone check
great.
out Brendan. And thank you so much for tuning in to the show. If you're new to the show, please consider subscribing. I try to do these every week. This is episode 46, so a lot of other shows there in the past. 45 if you want to get all mathematical about it.
Wow.
And I'll be back again actually Wednesday night at 10 p.m. That's what's the 9th, so I got to do a little math here. That would be the 11th. I'll be talking to Robert Chaz Shoot that night, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So thank you again for tuning in, Brendan. Thanks again.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. My pleasure. Talk to you soon, everybody.